There we go. Officially welcome. We are recording. Let's make sure that everyone's microphones are off. Please feel free to show me and Abby your faces. Just microphones off until later. And welcome officially to our Ayurveda workshop. So this is our Ayurveda embodiment class, and this will be taught not by me, not by yours truly, but by this wonderful human named Abby. So this is Abby Camille. She is an Ayurvedic practitioner. And for those of you that are not aware, I am not one of those. And this is why I get so excited about the medicine space and the health space, is that we constantly have to be in this situation. And I've seen this happen over and over again, where women are like, oh, now that I've crossed over to this other side. And I'm like, stop, don't fall for that. It's not this other side. Have both. Have both. And then as you learn more about that, I'm like, no, there's a time and a place for conventional medicine. There's a time and a place for functional medicine. And you've heard me say even that's not enough. And then we get to this place where I'm like, then there's Ayurvedic medicine. And the whole point is, please learn what aligns with you. Please be informed and exposed to the pieces where you don't have to be dogmatic about any one practice. And that's what I see happening all the time, is people like team functional medicine, team conventional. I'm like, stop it. Get what you need, but please be informed. So I'm thrilled to announce Abby. I mentioned she's an Ayurvedic practitioner. She specializes in women's health, not shocking. And she also is incredible with lymphatic drainage, lymphatic care. She actually does breast care. She does abdominal massage. She does uterine alignments. And she's also based like me in Sebastopol, California. I personally know her. She's a part of Whole Womanhood, and I've personally seen her. And for those of you who have been in Whole Womanhood, I am a snob when it comes to people who I recommend, because I try to protect the women I work with. There's so much crap information. I have personally seen Abby. Abby has adjusted my beautiful uterus. So this information goes straight through a very live source. So Abby, go ahead and take it away. I'm so happy to have you here.
Yay. Thanks so much, Lara. It's so fun to be here and see lots of familiar faces. And it feels like it's only appropriate to start a lymph call with a little bit of shaking. So if you would like, you can stand up or just wherever you are, get comfortable, and let's just do a little bouncy bounce, shaky shake. And maybe if you're just going to stay seated, you can just kind of give yourself a little tap wherever you are. But yeah, we'll just start by shaking the body. Maybe you're on your lunch break, and just letting go of the day thus far, just shaking it all off. We're halfway through the week, almost officially, and you're just giving yourself a little tap across the subclavian drain, across the arms. And just giving your neck a little massage here. Just draining any of the beautiful lymph in your neck and brain, bringing that back down to the heart space. Just allowing our lymph to flow, our emotions to flow. And we'll just round it out by a couple more shakes and a couple more nice deep breaths before we get into a little bit more heady brain zone, and then we'll get back into some body care. So just shaking it off, letting it go. One more nice deep breath. Awesome. And then when you're ready, feel free to keep shaking if you want. Keep shaking and bouncing, or come back to a comfortable seat. Okay, and as we get started, I'm just going to put the two handouts in the chat in case anyone wants to follow along that way. I think that will work. Did those go through, Lara? Okay, looks good. Okay. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay, so we'll start with the one that says Rasayana. And I'm just going to do maybe 15, 20 minutes of an overview about how the lymph is seen in Ayurveda. And then after that, we'll dive into some more hands-on. I brought all my fun tools like gua sha and little body scrub, dry brushing scrub, and all the things. So invitation to, if at any point you want to hop up and yes, Sean brought her gua sha. So if you want to hop up at any point and grab more materials, you're more than welcome to, but nothing's needed. You can totally just use your hands, and maybe if you have some oil or your favorite lotion nearby, that's great too. So starting off, what is the lymph? Gratefully, you all are in whole womanhood, and Lara talks about the lymph all the time, so I don't have to go into too much depth. But the lymph is our body's immune system and our disposal system. So it's the way that our body identifies any foreign invaders or viruses, potential challenges, and eliminates them through our B and T cells and lymphocytes. It's this like beautiful river of our immune system that is able to identify foreign invaders and then eliminate them through our sweat, through our poop, and through our digestive system in general. And it's an interconnected network of lymph nodes, those immune cells that I mentioned, and lymphatic fluid. And it all flows in one direction. So people often ask me as they're doing their lymphatic care, like, can I do it the wrong way, or am I going to mess things up? The general answer is that we want to move our lymph back towards the heart and the subclavian drain, subclavicle drain, because that's where our body is able to pump out and process the lymph. But because the lymph all flows in one direction, you really can't go wrong. It's just about bringing fluidity and movement into your body. And that's what allows the lymph to flow, and therefore allows your body to be more immune strong. So about half of our lymph nodes are in the gut, which is really important because there's so many things that we're breathing in and we're intaking through our mouths. And so especially in our small intestines, that's where our body can identify foreign invaders or viruses and break them down and then eliminate them. So we'll definitely be focusing on the gut today as an area of lymphatic importance. And something else to note is that the lymph speaks in pain and fatigue oftentimes. So as a body worker and also as someone who tries to do lymphatic self-care for myself, oftentimes when I feel like, oh, it's just like a little achy there, like a little achy behind my knee or in my armpit, or oftentimes when I'm doing breast care, that's an invitation that our body is telling us, like, okay, that little bit of like creaky, achy, that's just a sign that our lymph is calling for some more attention. So those are the areas that we get to really focus in on and love up in our lymphatic self-care practice. So as it pertains specifically to Ayurveda, there are 7 dhatus or tissues in the body in the Ayurvedic framework, and they go lymph, blood, muscle, skin, bones, nerves, reproductive. For anyone who's studied with Deanna Batdorf, you know the little jingle. And what that tells us is that because the lymph is first, it is the first of the tissues and it feeds all the other tissues. So if our lymph is healthy, then it means that our blood, muscles, skin, etc., are all more likely to be healthy as well. And it's known as the lymph river in Ayurveda, which just means it's our ultimate source of vitality, of our waters, creativity, and that then feeds all the other tissues and gives us this sense of longevity and well-being. So that's why it's just so important to love up our lymph. And the word for lymph is rasa. And that same word is used for all sorts of different things, which I think is really interesting. One, it's rejuvenation or restoration. So the same word for our lymph is the same word for basically self-care and for nurturing and for our longevity. So that's a really interesting one piece. And then the same word rasa is also the word for emotions. And there's 9 rasas in Ayurveda. love, joy, wonder, anger, fear, worry, sorrow. So when we move our lymph and we move the waters of our body, we also move the emotions of our body. So oftentimes when I'm working with clients or just on myself, I'll notice different emotions come up. And I think that that really just speaks to how our waters really do correlate with our emotions and our bodies. So that's just like a beautiful emotional aspect. And it is the word for the ojas, which is rasa is also the word for the taste. So sour, sweet, pungent. And I like to think about how the lymph is all about pleasure in a lot of ways. It's located in these pleasure parts of our bodies, and our mouths, and our saliva, and our breast tissue, and our pelvic floor, and our pelvic area. And I feel like the tastes are really related to that too. It's like when we really enjoy our food and we enjoy a broad palette of flavors, that stimulates our lymph, and it also stimulates our ability to experience pleasure and embodiment. So yeah, rasa, it's really amazing. The lymph is everything. Okay, and then to determine your lymphatic health, this is kind of a core framework in Ayurveda is hot, cold, and wet to dry. So you can think about it like a diagram, or what do they call it? Like a grid. So there's the hot to cold axis, and there's the dry to wet axis. And likely in any given moment, you'll find yourself somewhere on that spectrum. And if that's really interesting to you, you can go back and watch my Ayurveda 101, and that kind of goes more into your own elemental makeup. But for today, you can just think to yourself like, okay, do I run more hot or more cold? And you can even think like today, depending on the weather where you are, if you feel like you're running more hot or more cold. And then if you feel like you're running more dry or more damp. And that can also depend on what part of your body you're thinking about and all sorts of different factors. But, you know, for simplicity, just ask yourself like, okay, am I feeling more hot, cold, dry, wet? And it turns out that the lymph in our bodies oftentimes matches up with our constitutional balance. So there's 4 different types of lymph that we're looking for: hot, cold, wet, and dry. And a healthy lymph node, you may not even really notice. It'll just kind of like blend in with the tissue of your skin. Or it can feel kind of like a little almond that's a bit squishy, kind of like a little gnocchi or something. And yes, it's all in the PDFs. And so you can kind of working for just soft, not too tender, not too painful. And ideally, also, it says my connection's poor. Can you all still hear me? Okay, great, perfect. Just let me know if at any point it goes out. Good old rural living. So if our lymph nodes are healthy, they're just kind of chilling. We may not even notice them. And then there's the hot, cold, wet, and dry. So a hot lymph node might feel kind of inflamed. It might have had like a viral load at one point. And oftentimes it'll feel kind of hot and sharp to the touch. So sometimes like when we're getting sick, these lymph nodes, these warrior lymph, might feel kind of like hot and sharp, and you're like, ooh. Or if you have a cyst in your breast, that can kind of feel that same way, that like hot, sharp. It might feel painful or inflamed. Yeah, that's the hot. Okay, so cold will often feel more small, pebble-like. You can almost like pick them up, like they're kind of a little bit harder and squishier, like a little pea. And they'll feel kind of almost gravelly, like it's cold in your body. Yes, Ayurveda 101. Oh, okay, that I'll send a link to afterwards. That's on the guest talks. And then wet will feel a bit more like bulbous, congested. Oftentimes I find the most wet in my groin. That's kind of an area where the lymph just doesn't move as easily because oftentimes we're sitting or driving or whatever. And so that's a good area to kind of feel those like more squishy, enlarged. And those will often feel kind of more tender, more just like, ooh, this feels like it's been sitting here for a while. And then finally, dry lymph nodes will feel like a dry riverbed. So just kind of like grainy, sandy, yeah, just like kind of gravelly. So the reason that it's helpful to identify these different types of lymph is that when you're doing these self-care practices, you can observe change over time. And it's just helpful to have a vocabulary to be like, okay, at first, the lymph in my chest here was feeling really gravelly. And when we get to gua sha later, that's a really great way to identify what each type of lymph feels like. This is a common area where people will have dry lymph. I'll often have it, and it'll feel like you're on a car, like you're driving in your car over those speed bumps, and it's like, brrr, brrr. So the gua sha is a great tool to kind of feel out what's all your lymph feeling like in that particular day. And then you can notice like, oh yeah, this felt kind of hot before, but now it's feeling more healthy. Or maybe it was feeling more cold during the winter time and it's feeling more hot during the summer. So it's just a good self-awareness tool. Okay, and the last thing I'll say from this Rasayana handout is that there's just so many different ways to move the lymph. There's jumping, dancing, getting on your rebounder. I have my little trampoline right there. Singing, walking, anything that helps move your joints, because most of our lymph is in our joints, then you're likely going to be moving your lymph. So just finding forms of joyful movement in your day-to-day where you know you're going to be moving around and feeling good, then that's great. Okay, and then there's lots of other remedies and things that I wrote on the Rasayana handout. I love making different lymph herbal remedies, like making teas with cleavers or lemon balm, chickweed, or eating different like bitter foods are really helpful for the lymph. Especially like citrus peels are a great thing to just nibble on whenever you're eating a grapefruit or an orange. And then all the things that Lara talks about too, like castor oil packs, eating flax seeds, and just getting in your daily movement. Those are all great things. Anything that supports the liver and the digestion will also help the lymph to flow too, because that's a main pathway for lymphatic detoxification. Okay, so next up, Okay, next up, we are going to get into what we've all been waiting for, some good old hands-on lymphatic care. So that's if you want to go to, if you're following along, yes, Lara's got her gua shas, and you all are more than welcome to, yes, all the gua shas are out. We love it. Feel free if at any point you want to just get naked in your own privacy of your home and turn off your video and get really juicy with it, you're more than welcome to. And it's fun to see everyone's faces too. So whatever you prefer. Okay, so first up, we will talk about Abhyanga, which is traditional Ayurvedic body oiling. So what is it good for? Abhyanga is great for replenishment, for tending to our skin and all the lymphatic layers. It's really good for warming the body. Oh, great. Thank you. And for nourishment. Yes, you can see this. Perfect. And also for cellular detox, because what the oil does is when you rub yourself all down in oil, which I'll explain in a couple of minutes, the oil helps to soak into your fat cells, your skin cells, and helps to draw out any toxins from the cells and then eliminate them through the lymph and the digestion. So if you have any oil with you, you're welcome to do a little Abhyanga on yourself. Some of my favorite oils to use are sesame oil, is just like standard, really good for just about anyone. You can also use almond oil, coconut oil, and I wrote down kind of which ones are best for what dosha type. So you might want to go back to the Ayurveda 101 video and see what dosha you might be. And also, if you don't know, you can just kind of think to yourself like, okay, do I tend to run more dry? That's more vata. Do you tend to run more hot? That's more pitta. If you tend to run more like cold and damp, that's more kapha. So those are just really good oils for each type. And what you're going to do is, I'll kind of demo without oil, but you're just going to take a bunch of oil in your hands and just rub yourself down from head to toe. Traditionally in Ayurveda, the idea is that you pour it over your head and just let it all soak in through your scalp, over your face, really focusing on this neck lymph, and then also really focusing on the subclavian drain here, where all the lymph drains back to the heart. And then you just kind of massage yourself in circles, just bringing blood flow, lymphatic flow to the whole area. And then you'll make your way down through your chest and breast, your armpits. People often forget about the armpits. They're easy to overlook because you're like, ooh, I don't want to touch my armpits. But when you have a bunch of oil on, it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's great. And then I like to do a little focus on my belly too. So doing a nice circular motion in the way that your digestion and colon move. So doing a clockwise rotation around the belly. And of course, you'd all be doing this in your bathroom without clothes on in the privacy of your own home. And just doing some nice circular motions, really getting in the groin lymph and the hips, and then focusing all throughout your legs as well. And as we're doing this, you want to focus on bringing all the lymph back to your heart space. So afterwards, you can just kind of like scrub a dub, get yourself all oiled up. And then at the end, you'll just kind of brush everything back to the heart center. And same with your legs, just massaging with each of the joints and drawing that all back to the heart center too. Even if it's just energetic, I think that doing that, having that intention of bringing the lymph back to your heart is always just really nice, because it's just signaling to your body like, okay, we're just letting this all flush out and the heart can take care of it. So some pro tips are you'll want to just rub yourself down in as much oil as you can. Probably like half a cup would be great, but quarter cup is also great. And then traditionally in Ayurveda, you then spend 44 minutes where you just hang out and meditate or do whatever. And then afterwards you shower and let all the oil absorb in. To be honest, I usually wait about 3 to 4 minutes and then I'll get in the shower. But I do find that just taking the time to fully massage my body, that probably takes 5 to 10 minutes. And then once I get going, I'm like, oh, well, this feels good. I'll just keep working it. And so maybe I'll wait like 10 to 15 minutes with the oil on. And then you'll get into the shower. And oftentimes people are like, why would I do that? I'm just rubbing the oil right off. The idea is that the warm water actually helps to send the oil deeper into your skin so that it can get down to the cells the fat cells and the skin cells, and then do that detoxification process of drawing out any toxins. That's why it's also great, though, to let the oil kind of sink in for a while before showering, so then you get more of the benefits. But you'll notice a lot of the oil will just kind of rub into your skin because it saponifies when there's the oil in the water. It actually the water helps to send all those oil molecules into the skin. So you actually get kind of a benefit. And then you don't have to walk around all day feeling kind of oily, which is something that I don't particularly enjoy. And then afterwards, I like to, when I get out, I'll use like a hand towel that I don't mind getting oily instead of my regular bath towel. And then you can just kind of pat yourself dry so you don't soak up too many of the oils. And if you can, spending a minute or two in a sunny window, just kind of letting that warmth circulate in your body will allow those oils to absorb even more. And it feels so good. I did it this morning kind of as a preparation for this call. And I find it just so nourishing for the nervous system because you're really coating all of your nerves in this like nice oil and tending to your skin. And it just feels so like, just like the purest essence of self-care, really. So even if you only have 2 minutes before you shower, just like rubbing yourself down in some oil and then showering afterwards. It really, I feel like, makes a difference and kind of coats the energetic and physical body. So that's Abhyanga. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Abby.
Yes.
Just a brief question. Does it make sense to use castor oil in the stomach area while you're doing that?
Definitely. I love using castor oil for some of my Abhyanga. And it does a similar, showering afterwards has this kind of similar effect to when you do like a hot pack. It'll help to drive it in more to the skin. And I really like to use castor for parts of like my joints or any area that might feel kind of more inflamed or tender. It's really great for inflammation.
Is it okay to use it for the whole body or just
totally? Yeah, it'll just be a little bit stickier than say a sesame oil, but if you don't mind, then I say go for it.
Thank you.
Good question. Okay, great. Any other questions? Perfect. Okay. Next up, dry brushing. So I really like to do dry brushing before Abhyanga. This is like deluxe package. If you're like, I have 30 minutes, I'm gonna really take care of myself. You can do the dry brushing Abhyanga combo. And you can do it all pretty quickly too. I feel like if I really get it down to a science, I can do it like 15 minutes with some dry brushing, some Abhyanga, shower. So we're all about simplicity and lazy things to give you the maximum benefit here. So that's what it's about. So dry brush. If you have one, you can also find these like small ones that are just little circles. Get this a little closer. And you can use those too. Or even if you don't have a full dry brush, but you just have like a little bath scrubby or anything that has just like a kind of scrubby texture, a washcloth even, you can totally do that too. This just has like a nice little like bristliness to it. But similar idea as Abhyanga, you'll notice they all have a similar flow to them, where we're going to start here in the chest zone. And you'll notice you can kind of get a blood glow going. And dry brushing doesn't always feel the most pleasant, but it's really great for just like stimulating. It's all about stimulation. So if you're a person who runs really dry and already kind of irritated, then maybe dry brushing isn't for you. But if you have like a little extra oomph on your tissues, it's really great for just getting everything flowing. So yeah, we're just starting here and then getting in the armpits, and then again, just like brushing up back towards the heart space. And you can do this for 3 minutes total or 20 minutes total, just depending on how much time you have. And then again, kind of doing that like circular motion around the belly. And then along the legs, you can't really see here, but you get the idea. You can just start low around your ankles and then brush up towards your pelvis. And then really taking some time too in this pelvic floor area and the hips that can get really congested. And the thing that's great about these long-handed ones is that you can really get on your back too and just give yourself a nice back scrub-a-dub-dub. Yeah, and there's something that's kind of, I don't know, I find that can be pretty nervous system regulating too about the dry brush, because it's almost like a Shakti mat if you've ever used one of those, where when you have something that's a bit more physically intense, the body then can relax. It's like it activates the sympathetic nervous system, and then afterwards when you're done, it's like, okay, I did it. I did the like kind of uncomfortable thing. So that's a nice positive to dry brushing as well. And it's also great because you're getting to slough off any dead skin cells. Another great energetic practice of just being like, okay, releasing that, done with that part of my life. And then it's really great to do some oil afterwards, just to like kind of reground and nourish the skin. So I like to do maybe 5 minutes of dry brushing before I shower, and then oil, do a little bit of abhyanga, and then take a shower. Take it or leave it. You can really make your own favorite self-care practice by combining these different things, or if you just have time to do one, that's great too. But I feel like the dry brush plus abhyanga is a golden combination. Yeah. Anyone have any questions about dry brushing?
I actually have a question. Can your dry brush be too soft? Because I feel like I'm one of those people that dry brushing is actually really uncomfortable for me, and I get super irritated super easily. So I've kind of made it my life mission to find the softest dry brush possible. But then I started to think, is this too soft to be effective? Am I not really getting anything out of it now that the bristles are really like silky?
Totally. I think it's really a personal preference. And the beauty of the lymph is that it moves really easily. Some types of lymphatic massage, they just feel like the most gentle touch. So I think half of it is intention. So if you just bring that like caring intention to your lymph, it's possible that you might be like a more Vata person or someone with more like just nerve sensitivity. So I think as listening to your body.
Okay.
Can
Lara,
I
did you
add
add
too?
in?
Only because this is where I love that the worlds merge.
Great.
Is that we're so used to force. We're
Mhm.
so used to, if you lose weight, you stop eating. Everything has to be very dramatic and very intense. And I think particularly dry brushing confuses a lot of women because I get really up close and personal. I'm like, if you press too hard, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen me do this, where I'll get in here for just a second, a little bit bigger, but I will actually say like, this is me messing with blood. Like if you see me doing this, I'm like going into the blood vessels. This is me messing with lymph, right? It's so superficial to the skin that the point is just a little bit of mechanical stimulation goes such a long way. And for women who are very sensitive, it's the same thing as deep breathing. Deep breathing, deep force, more force, oftentimes dysregulates your nervous system further. Right, Abby, just like you mentioned, it could be like, oh, I'm powering through, or it could be your body being like, we don't have the resources right now to power through. Listen to me. And so I just completely agree with you. And I love the fact that they overlap because I don't think it has to be hard. You might actually be going too deep and stimulating blood rather than lymph.
Totally. Especially in this world that we live in of so much stimulation and so much excess, like go as hard as you can. I think that finding practices that really help to like calm us down and regulate our nervous system are just as important as like, let's get in there and scrub it all away. Yeah, thanks, Lara. I love the overlap. Yeah, any other dry brushing questions or comments if people have experience? I love what Felicia added in too, that gentle brush really stimulates all the surface lymph too. Oh yeah, when you first started to dry brush, I got a wee bit nauseous. So yeah, our lymph is, as we've mentioned, like our detoxification process. And so sometimes it can kind of like stir up old toxins or old viruses or just things that are stuck in the tissues. So yeah, definitely taking it slowly and maybe starting with a more gentle practice like the abhyanga oil massage. That will probably be a more gentle route. Did you have something you wanted to add, Lara? Okay, now you're just saying great question. Yeah.
No, actually, other than with that, it's not even too hard. It's that some people are doing it wrong. And I like that you started here because I'm always telling people, please don't start at your extremities.
Mm-hmm.
Opened this portal. And so sometimes people start too hard and far away and you literally trap toxins at the entrance to the freeway. And so everything becomes really, it becomes really contained with no release.
Totally. Definitely. So yeah, maybe also starting the upper channels of lymph and your belly to make sure that your belly lymph is all open and flowing, making sure that you're pooping. And then from there, you can kind of get into some of the other zones of your lymph more easily. Okay. let's get into one of my other favorites, which is salt scrubs. So I just made.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah, of course.
What is the rationale behind the fact that you're doing it, rubbing it up to your heart? I would assume that it should be kind of almost the opposite way, from here going down for the lymphatic purposes.
Totally. So our heart is one of the main pumps for the lymph, and it's also where the lymph river meets the bloodstream, as we say in Ayurveda. And so it's a way for any toxins that have surfaced from the lymph to be processed out, so they can enter the bloodstream and be processed out that way through the liver and ultimately the digestive tract, or it can help to bring it back down to the gut zone where it can be processed out that way. So yeah, it's sometimes when we're doing things with a more energetic purpose, which is also great, you can just imagine like sending things out through your arms, sending it out through your legs. And I think if you're doing that kind of like, okay, I'm just like releasing something more energetic, that's nice to just like flush it away. But then it is kind of physiologically helpful to bring things back to the heart where then they can be eliminated. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so salt scrubs is a really fun project that you can do at home if you have little ones or loved ones who like to do a good project. It's really fun to make too. So this is one that I made this past weekend at a retreat I hosted. And it's quite simple. You just get 8 ounces of salt. I usually use sea salt, but you can truly use the crappiest salt. It doesn't really matter. Sea salt will just be kind of nice because it has those extra minerals and usually like a slightly better texture, I think. You can also use Epsom salts. You can use, just like whatever salt you have around your house, if that's most convenient. And then you'll add about half a cup of oil, and you can make it a little bit more dry if you're a person who's a bit more kapha, like if you have a bit more stagnation in your body, you can make it more dry. So then it's kind of more vigorous, similar to the dry brush. Or if you're a person who tends to run more dry and your nerves are a little bit more sensitive, then you can add more oil, and that will just make it more of like a nourishing salt scrub. And then you can add some of your favorite essential oils, or I really like to add just powdered herbs too. So sometimes I'll powder like rose petals or tulsi petals, or even like some tea bags. You could just add those in there too. Powder them first, usually, so they don't clog your drain. But yeah, you can mix in whatever makes your salt scrub feel very luxurious. This one, I made it called Trip to the Tropics, and I put in lemongrass, ginger, jasmine, and turmeric. And then I think I did it with sea salt and sesame oil. Oh yeah, people always ask, how do you powder something? First, you want it to be dried, and then I get a coffee grinder and I put it in the coffee grinder and just like powder it that way. If you have a molcajete or a mortar and pestle, you can do it the good old-fashioned way too. Or sometimes your blender. I use my blender sometimes too. And actually, if you have some leftover coffee grounds in your coffee maker, coffee is a really nice salt scrub addition too. It's like nice, uplifting, energizing smell. And I put on there on the handout some of my favorite essential oils for each of the doshas. So for Vata, we want ones that are more grounding and nourishing. And for Pitta, we want ones that are more cooling. And for Kapha, ones that are more like stimulating, warming, energizing. And that's actually a kind of fun traditional Ayurvedic technique, especially for the springtime, is putting ground mustard seed in your salt scrub. And so that's what I got here. And it's really great for cleansing the lymph, kind of getting rid of any wintertime toxins and funk. So it's, really great traditional method. And what you'll do is you'll get in the shower. Sometimes what I like to do is scrub myself down a little bit first, so then it doesn't all just wash away instantly. And I'll just get like a good scoopful and just similar process. Start with the chest and the belly, get all the pathways open, and then rub your arms, your neck, I don't tend to do so much salt scrubbing on my face just because the face is a bit more sensitive skin. I find that things like Abhyanga, just the oil on the face, is a really nice kind of cleansing. But if you feel like it's would be helpful for you, you can try just a little bit on your face. And I would say also before you go too wild with the salt scrub, like just do a tester patch in case your body is sensitive to any of the like salt or essential oil. Just make sure that you're not going to break out or anything like that. And yeah, just scrub, scrub, scrub. Or you can like get in the shower, kind of warm up your body a bit, turn off the water, scrub around for maybe 5 minutes. And then after you've done a proper scrub, then you can turn the water back on. And warm water is great because it'll just help that oil to absorb into the skin. Let's see. Yeah, I would say the salt scrub is really great too for the groin area, for the armpits, anywhere that feels like there might just be more congestion built up. It's really helpful for that. And it helps with if your armpits get funky. It's a nice way to work the armpits in a way that smells delicious. And yeah, kind of similar process to the Abhyanga, then just using a hand towel or something afterwards. You don't mind getting oily. To pat yourself off. And then always with any of these oily things in the shower, sometimes it's nice to have one of those like no slip mats in the shower so you don't slip around. And you may just want to run the shower for an extra couple of minutes, like 30 seconds or something after, spritz it down with some vinegar just to like get rid of some of the extra oil so you don't slip. Let's see. Yeah, and I also, one more thing I'll mention about salt scrubs is that I love it for scar tissue. So if you have like a C-section scar or somewhere that you had a surgery, obviously not within the first few months of healing, you want the scar to fully heal. But then afterwards, it can be really helpful to just like gently work that scar area. And of course, with like loving intention, just like bringing some more blood flow to that area. And per the castor oil question, I will share one of my favorite kind of alternative salt scrub recipes, which is with castor oil and an Ayurvedic, kind of like an Ayurvedic salt called Kala Namak. This is backwards, but I'll write it in the chat too. And Kala Namak is a black sulfur salt that comes from the Himalayas, and it forms in sulfur springs. It's like a natural sulfur deposit. And it is just amazing for breaking down scar tissue, adhesions, stuck lymph, really anything that just feels like it's been there for a while and is stuck. So this is kind of like a powerhouse duo. If you mix together castor oil and the Kala Namak, which you can get this on the Dhyana Essentials website. I also sell it locally if you're in Sebastopol. I wrote the Dhyana Essentials website on the additional resources on the handout. We can put that in the chat too at some point. But it's just so great. So you mix those two together and then you can scrub in an area that's like, ooh, this is just really needs some extra support and moving. I feel like it's especially helpful for the gut. If you have been constipated for a while, or if you have just that like end of winter time feeling a bit heavy in your belly area, it's just great to like scrub, 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 move it all along. Yay, thanks, Lara. Perfect. And that you can kind of do it to taste is the wrong word, but just to make it again, like I would probably do maybe a quarter cup of castor oil and a tablespoon of Kala Namak. And that should be good. You might not even need that much Kala Namak. Okay, any questions about salt scrubs? Julie, did you have a question? Oh, and Sean?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the Kala Namak, I have an interesting relationship with it. When I first had it used on me, I could smell it for like 4 days. And then I had it used on me over the weekend at the aerial event.
Mm-hmm.
and it was better this time. So I'm curious if you or Lara has like any info about sulfur and like methylation and how, just like different, how the sulfur affects the body at different times in different ways. Yeah.
Wow, yes. I'm excited to geek out about this with Lara. I can share my experience, and then I would love to hear Lara's take too. So when I first started working with Kalanamak, it's really interesting because it's transdermal. So if you rub it externally, it can help to clear the gut and constipation. So people will I've also taken it internally, and that can be really helpful for clearing constipation in specific cases. But if you use it externally, it can also have a similar effect of kind of clearing the gut. And when I was working a lot with it on other people, like at Women's Herbal Symposium, when it's like, oh, I'll scrub everyone down with Kalanamak, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, I started having all these Kalanamak like sulfur farts. And Deanna was like, that's because you have intestinal plaque. And I was like, oh, thanks, Deanna. Like, way to call me out in front of my friends. But after more time working with it, then the Kalanamak farts went away. So I think it's kind of one of those things where the smell might linger more, the more like constipation or intestinal plaque or just like old toxins you might have built up in the system, or perhaps like liver congestion. And maybe that has become less intense for you over time. But I'd be so curious, Lara, if there's something you want to share about how sulfur might affect the gut and the lymph.
Yeah, I think that's why I got excited. It's such a good question. We need sulfur to turn on our hormones. So it's a really important point. So we have these words that we throw around like estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. But the thing that fundamentally makes estrogen, when we go all the way back upriver, is what's a hormone called DHEA. And that's what's known as our vitality hormone. But the problem with it is that unless you actually add on a sulfur group, you can't activate it. So you physically need sulfation to activate the vitality hormone. DHEA is known as the father of our hormones. And it's a funny way of saying it because it makes testosterone. But testosterone makes estrogen. So we literally need, sometimes I see it in the Dutch test and I'm like, oh, we need sulfur-rich food. We need more sulfur in the body, literally, whether it's through absorption, through hot springs, through cruciferous vegetables, through eggs, which are sulfur-rich food. And you will see someone's hormones change because they are physiologically activating their DHEA, which is one of the coolest things. And then you have certain bacteria, like if someone has SIBO, so it's like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which sometimes they're more sulfur producing bacteria, sometimes they're more hydrogen producing bacteria. And so when people say, ooh, I've been eating more sulfur rich foods, are you trying to kill me? The answer is, oh, got it. We're probably feeding something else. If someone starts eating sulfur-rich foods, or like Kalanamak, basically it's so luxurious until 10 seconds later, and you feel like you have become a fart, right? Like you have embodied the entire essence of being a fart. Like I said, it'll go away more and more because if your gut can handle it, you are basically producing more resources for your hormones. You are literally activating that DHEA pathway. You are activating hormones live in the gut as well. And so you create that checks and balance system. But if you find that sulfur, whether it's the food or the Kalanamak, you're like, this is dysregulating me further, then oftentimes you're speaking to, got it, you have things in the gut that you're feeding and you don't want to be feeding them. So it's also a good litmus test. But over time, yeah, you should be actually nourishing your hormones enough that you're able to balance the hormones. And I say balance loosely, but balance them so that they have that trickle down effect. And a lot of that actually starts with sulfur.
Wow.
And you can see it in the Dutch test. I can literally see it online. Mm-hmm.
So cool.
Yeah.
We love sulfur. Awesome. I love that. Thank you, Lara.
Thank you. That this
Okay.
the worlds merge, and I think we just had it was a simple question.
Julie, do you have a question? Oh yeah, please.
What kind of oils do you use for the salt scrub? Is it similar to what you would use for the Abhyanga?
Exactly. Yeah. So you can use those same oils. I love sesame as just like a base oil. Some people have allergies to sesame, so be mindful of that. But sesame it has a really small molecular size, so it's a lot easier for our skin to absorb. But almond, coconut, sunflower, coconut, I don't always recommend because it has a larger molecular size, so it's harder to absorb, and then it can just kind of lay on your skin. But it's good if you need a more cooling oil. And there's so many luxurious Ayurvedic oils. This is one that my friend makes called Kavala Graha, and that has a whole bunch of delightful herbs in it. Some of my favorites come from Banyan Botanicals, and they have one called Mahanarayan. That's a traditional Ayurvedic formula that has like 30 different oils or 30 different herbs, and it has this kind of reddish tint, and it's really just like so unctuous and delightful. And then there's another one that is called ashwagandha bala oil, and that's one of my personal favorites. It has ashwagandha and then bala, which is country mallow, and it's just really nourishing. So I think actually that's the one I use to make the salt scrub, and I highly recommend that one. Yeah, thanks for the question.
Thank you.
Okay, and last but not least, the all famous gua sha. So gua sha is actually a Chinese medicine tool, and it means to scrape toxins. Gua sha, toxin scrape. So it's really great. I really like the wooden ones. This one I got from Diana Essentials, the same website as the Kala Namak. And it's because my teacher, Deanna, her husband, Scott, makes them all by hand from reclaimed wood. And I just really like the wood because it feels a little bit softer on my skin and it's a bit easier to hold. But you can use a stone one. I've seen people use abalone ones. Yes, Sean's got a little matcher. And there's, gua sha's in the air. So there's so many different gua shas out there. You can really pick whatever calls to you. But I really, as a starter gua sha, highly recommend the wooden ones. Gua shas are great for lymphatic flow, and they can also be helpful for kind of like deeper muscular blood, all sorts of like different layers of the tissues. So it just depends on how vigorously you use your gua sha. That will affect which layer you're mostly working with. But in general, I would say just kind of like meeting your tissue. So finding a depth where it feels, you can like feel the pressure and it's not too painful. In traditional Chinese medicine, they do use the gua sha quite intensely. And I definitely use that in that way sometimes on my clients to like get to those deeper layers of lactic acid in the muscles. So you don't have to be scared if you're like, oh, I turned myself really red, or like I have some bruising. That's actually like really common with the gua sha. But if you want, you can also do it in a very like gentle, calming way too. And I'm going to teach another workshop in early July, I believe, about facial gua sha. So you can tune back in for that. But we'll follow kind of a similar pathway as we have been for the others, which is just starting here. And the gua sha is just such a good, like litmus test or deciphering tool, if you will, for how your lymph feels, because you can kind of feel the bumpiness of different areas of your body. So I like to start here, kind of tracing underneath the clavicle. And this might be a zone. And you can do this on bare skin, but generally I recommend on top of oil, or I really like using them in the sauna once I get sweaty, or the steam room, because sometimes on just bare skin, it can be a little bit more irritating. But yeah, just starting here underneath the clavicle, Getting that all opened up. Maybe you'll get like a little blood glow going like me. And then I like to do some neck. It feels so nice on the neck. And even the back of the neck and the scalp and the head can feel really good. So yeah, just drawing down and opening up this drain. And this is actually reminding me that there's one time that you really don't want to do gua sha or really any of these more like lymphatic stimulating activities. And that's when you're getting sick or the first few days of being actively sick, because your body is trying to consolidate that virus into your lymph nodes, in particular these like neck warrior lymph nodes. So you kind of just want to let your body do its thing. Like that's when it's a really good time to drink a bunch of ginger tea, take a hot bath, drink a ton of fluids, eat some soup, and then rest, not like scrub it all up and get all that lymph moving. There are some TCM points like in the middle of the back and the chest here that can be good when you're sick, but I'd say in general, just kind of letting your body rest and recoup. And then we can do a little face gua sha just because it feels so good. So just doing like a little forehead and cheeks. I feel like it's just so nice to get into those jaw muscles that are working so hard. And I like to kind of trace my cheekbones too. And if you don't have a gua sha, you can totally be doing all this with your hands too. It's really just about getting the lymph flowing. And another thing you can use is a spoon. In China, a lot of times they'll use soup spoons. So those like white ladled soup spoons. So those are great as well. Or even a rock if you find a good rock. Okay, and then we can do some arm, especially getting into that like area by the armpit. And this is an area that oftentimes I'll feel more congested lymph. So that can feel kind of a little bit more like bloop, bloop, bloop. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like kind of more like a gnocchi. That's like kind of that more rubbery feeling. Or sometimes people have really dry lymph in their armpits. So that will just feel more like those little gravelly roads. Yes, really good time to see if your armpits puff out. I have like a little bit of puff. Yeah. And then working down the outside of the chest. This is a really important drain too, this like outside of the armpits. So puffy pits the armpits are a really important connection pathway between all the lymph that's in our armpits and arms and our breast tissue. And so you want to just make sure that that pathway is open so then any toxins can more easily flow out of your breast. Lara, did you have something else? I know you have a whole puffy pits thing too.
Yeah, I'm also on a treadmill.
Yeah, I'm like, I love it. Yes, stack those questions.
It's a really good thing for lazy vitality. If you lift up your arm, and sometimes people are like, well, I gained weight. Of course they're going to be puffy. And I'm like, no. You can see puffy armpits in a woman who's like 95 pounds and 5'7". If you see that it puffs out versus then having the natural groove, you're always thinking either lymph retention, toxin storage, stagnancy. It's always this like, oh, your body's storing it in places, and we store toxins in our fat. So for me, it's that like domino effect of like, oh, I bet you she's storing toxins elsewhere. If you find that your body is trying to basically fill up all the cubbies it can, like the kitchen's just full. Every cupboard you open, it's just overloaded. And so that's a really good litmus test is you literally open up and see, does my armpit groove in or is it super puffy? And you might notice with lymph over time, you're like, whoa, I'm actually getting more of a groove. As I dry brush more, as I gua sha more, I'm noticing it looks more like a cavern rather than that puff. So it's just a cool litmus test.
For sure. And I'll just mention too that this is the most common zone for really all breast imbalances, but in particular breast cancer is this outside channel. So that's why it's also really important to make sure that that lymph is flowing. So then your body can recognize any abnormal cells, and the lymph can go and send cells that can help break those down, or just make sure that inflammation isn't starting there, forming there in the first place. And we might have to do another whole day of, I think Lara has done some videos too on breast care, but I could do another demo on like specifically gua sha breast care, because that's like a whole great thing to know. Yeah, and then kind of similar flow, work on your belly some, work on your groin, work on the legs, and really just meeting your tissue where it's at, just being like, okay, where do I feel the tenderness? Where do I feel any pain? And not pushing beyond pain, because we don't want to send our body into a stress response, but just finding that like, oh yeah, there's something there that I need to work on. I really like the gua sha behind the joints too, like behind the knees and the elbows. It's just like such a good way to get those harder to move lymph spots, get them moving. And let's see if there's anything else. Yeah, it's a great thing to do a day after a workout, or really all these are so great to do after you work out, especially doing things like weightlifting, where more lactic acid can build up in the muscles. Using a gua sha or salt scrub to just help to nourish the joints and to get all the lymph and the lactic acid flowing afterwards, so that doesn't build up and form inflammation. Okay, so some just additional resources. We've put some Dhyana Essentials references in there. I really like Art of Living. They have all sorts of amazing centers around the US and I think the world. And they have some good blogs on Abhyanga and different oils to use and herbs to use for depending on your dosha. You can also do a dosha quiz on the Dhyana Essentials website, or at Banyan Botanicals. They have some dosha quizzes. Or you can watch my Ayurveda 101 video and see if you can figure it out for yourself. And then there's me. So I offer lymphatic bodywork and abdominal and breast care, as Lara has mentioned. I also do pulse assessments, which is Tibetan and Ayurvedic pulse readings. And with that, I'm able to determine your dosha and the health of different organs and glands and different tissues. So if you're really curious and want to learn more about what's your doshic makeup, or how is your liver from an Ayurvedic perspective, that can be really fun to get a pulse reading. And that's included in my bodywork sessions as well. And if you're interested in learning more, I have an Instagram, Abbey Joy Healing, and I put my email and website on the handout too. And I'm so excited to be part of the Whole Womanhood team. So I'll be seeing you all around a lot, and we can keep chatting. And I'm happy, I know folks might have to head out, but I'm happy to stay on for a bit longer if people have more questions or comments, ideas. Feel free to share your favorite lymph bodywork, self-care things too. And the last thing I'll mention is that in June, we're going to do a challenge for whatever your favorite lymphatic self-care practice is, to do that at least twice a week for the month of June. So we'll put that out soon. So yay, thanks so much. And any questions? Yeah, feel free to put questions in the discussion too.
I got one question for you. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, John. When would you choose to do gua sha over dry brushing? Is that just the deeper work that you're looking for?
Totally. Yeah, I really like to do gua sha when I have a more specific area that I'm like, okay, I know I really need to focus in on my breasts, or like my knee has been really congested or puffy, or yeah, it's like a little bit more specific and a little bit more deep, I would say, with the gua sha. The dry brush, I think, just generally stimulates the lymph and gets everything flowing. And the gua sha is a bit more of like a fine tooth comb when you're like, okay, let's like get in there and move that. Yeah. I also think it's this gua sha is so transportable, and really nice for like when I go to the sauna or steam room or something like that. It's just like a nice little guy to have in my pocket. Sean, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question about the lymph in the groin.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't really feel like can't feel my lymph nodes there. Do you have tips on kind of where, is it more like there's the legs and then there's the pelvis and like the pubic area? Is it more on like the wall of the pubic area, more on the legs?
Yeah. So I would say I can feel it the most easily usually when I'm lying down. So I'll just like lie in my bed, and when I'm doing at night, I love to just get a whole bunch of castor oil and just rub it all over my belly. And then usually I can feel the most kind of like in this zone right here, kind of like at the crux of the hip bones and the pelvis. And then like kind of more by the labias, just like out externally. That's where I generally feel the most lymph. And it'll feel, most likely you'll be able to feel like some little kind of rounded nodules, or ideally if it's super healthy, you may not feel that. And I think a good way there, if you're like, I can't tell if I'm feeling the lymph or what, is if you feel tenderness anywhere, that's most likely lymph. So if you're just like laying down on your back and you feel tenderness, then it's like, okay, that's probably an area I could use some extra oil and rub. Yeah, I find that doing like oil and not so many essential oils, especially because you don't want to irritate the vulvovaginal area. So just getting like some simple sesame oil or castor oil and just like rubbing around the groin.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Awesome. Any other questions? Yay. Well, thanks everyone so much for tuning in. It's really fun to get to see some of your faces. And I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Feel free, I'll put my email here in case you have any questions that come up afterwards. Okay. We'll have a great rest of the day and see you all soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby. Thank you. Thank you. And we'll also be integrating these. So I know if people ask, I'll add some of the products to our discount page, so everything just gets more and more fused. Thank you. This is awesome. We appreciate you.
Thanks. I appreciate y'all. Yay.
Till next time. And if any of you have not recommendations, but wants of what our next challenge is going to be, let us know. More focus on gua sha, more focus on dry brushing. Let us know. We will tailor it to that. And have an amazing rest of your day.